Hey guys, Graybird here. Just wanted to do another quick follow-up video to the prepping video that I did before. As I had mentioned, I'm definitely no authority on prepping, so do your own research, and there's plenty of people out there that have a lot of information to offer. But I found that preppers are a lot like financial advisors. Everybody has a formula that they feel you need to follow in order to be successful, and I just don't find that to be the case. So I wanted to give 3, and maybe 4 at the end, ways that anybody can begin increasing their ability to be prepared for any type of an event, whether it be, socioeconomic or a pandemic like we're in now, or a job loss, or whatever it is. So the first tip that I have is pretty simple, but oftentimes overlooked, and that's every time you go to the grocery store, think about buying one extra item that's outside of your grocery list that you can put away, maybe in a storage bin or wherever you decide to put your preps, a pantry, whatever it is. And that could be something like macaroni and cheese, tuna fish, pasta, dried pasta, anything that comes in a can. Peanut butter is a really, really good one. Jelly, things that they don't have to necessarily be a meal item, but maybe they would help improve something. So maybe if you're in a situation where you're eating, wild game or wild edibles or whatever it is, something like jam or peanut butter or even mustard and ketchup, things like that are really, really good to have a little bit of extra on hand when times get tough. So, and those are all things too that you will eat if you never need to use it. Then that's great. You'll cycle through it. There'll be a month where all of a sudden you don't have to go grocery shopping because you have all this stuff that you've stockpiled, and and you're cycling through it, and then you get some more. So that's my first tidbit of advice, and I would say do that until you have about a month or 2 worth of food. Once you've got a month or 2's worth of food, because in most cases, let's be honest, unless it's really, really a severe situation, a month or 2's worth of food should get you through, the hard times. If you need more than a month or 2's worth of food, then, we've got bigger problems, and that's a totally different video. But anyway, so a month or 2's worth of extra food in your pantry. After that, I would suggest saving those pennies that you were using towards the extra food that you were buying, and I would say invest in a pressure canner. I have an Instant Pot. It's not super big. It'll pressure cook and will also pressure can, but I also have one of those old school pressure canners that thing with the top that clacks, and it's a little bit scary, but it works. And start pressure canning food, because you can water bath cucumbers and tomatoes and different vegetables, and obviously you have to be aware of the acidity of what you're working with. But with a pressure canner, it removes all of that. You can pressure can pretty much anything. You can pressure can meats, vegetables, anything that you have left over. So it's a good way to pressure can, the leftover food that would normally sit in the refrigerator, and maybe you eat it, maybe you don't. So a pressure canner is number 2. I would invest in a pressure canner, because that will increase your pantry exponentially, because you'll just be packing that pantry full of stuff. And that stuff will probably, in all honesty, last longer than the extra canned goods, the tuna fish and the soup, and the stuff that you buy at the store to build your pantry. You won't have to cycle through it quite as quickly. So that's the second thing that I would do. Once you have stockpiled about 2 months-ish or more of canned goods, and you've got your pressure canner going and everything else, then I would probably focus on freeze-dried foods, because freeze-dried foods have such a huge shelf life. And I'm not talking about like the strawberries that you get and the blueberries and everything else. I'm talking about getting the number 10 cans of chicken, of freeze-dried chicken or beef, or they actually have different meals, and you can accumulate that pretty quickly It seems a little bit expensive when you buy it online, but you know what I have found and what I'm trying to do is cycle through my pantry and use my grocery budget towards the freeze-dried food. So, I mean, everyone's budget's going to be a little bit different, but that allows you to, eventually you'll end up with, you'll just get more and more food that's going to, you know, last 20 to 30 years, and you won't need to worry so much about having that pantry full of stuff that you have to cycle through, which can be a chore. Cycling through a pantry is not always easy, especially, you know, what do you do when you have 13 jars of peanut butter that you need to cycle through because it's starting to get to that time. Now you're going to be making a ton of curry, and you know, maybe you can use your rice. I don't know, but I'm just saying that that allows you the opportunity to have a much more stable food source that you don't have to worry about cycling through. And that's where I'm hoping to get. I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it, but I'm hoping to get there. So those are the three things that I would suggest starting with. Buy extra food for your pantry. Get a pressure canner. Start pressure canning everything, all your leftovers, everything. Get freeze-dried food whenever you can. All right. And number 4 is kind of a bonus. Number 4 is going to be something to trade or barter with if you need to. And again, if we get to a point where you really need to trade and barter, we might be in a situation that's a little bit more extreme than than this video covers. But it never hurts to have those items. So I would say, if you can, keep a little cash on hand. I would say keep, you know, at least a couple $100, $100, $200, and keep them in small denominations, nothing higher than a $5 bill. That way you have something to barter with, and you know, if cash isn't desirable in that particular situation, booze is another great thing to have on hand, because you know, people still like their adult beverages. So you know, maybe get 10 bottles, you know, stock up every time you go, maybe buy 1 or 2 bottles of booze until you have 10 or 15 bottles for trading. I know a lot of people talk about trading ammo. I think that's just ridiculous for a number of different reasons. I'm not going to really get too much into it in this video, but don't do that. That's just silly. So anyway, I hope everybody found this a little bit informative, and if you have any questions, please let me know. And again, 3 simple ways to get prepared for anything that might come down the pipeline, and that's buy extra food every time you go to the store to put into a separate pantry, away from your items that you use for cooking. Get a pressure canner, pressure can all of your leftovers, store it, do whatever, and buy freeze-dried food. Now obviously there's a lot of more things that you can do. I mean, you have in a garden, and I have chickens and stuff like that. There's a lot more that we can get into, but this is just 3 simple steps that anybody can do to feel a little bit more secure should they need resources that are not available to them in the future. So, hope everyone's doing awesome. Be kind, be nice to each other, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you next time.